Shalom and welcome to Reality Check. In this segment, I'm going to continue answering the allegations that the purpose of Reality Check is to bash Christianity. As I said in an earlier segment, this is not true. My purpose is not to bash Christianity, but to get Christians to open their eyes to the truth of the Bible. As an example, I recently got involved with a Christian group on Facebook that was specifically designed to bash those of us who are Torah observant. As a matter of fact, these good Christians were perched behind their keyboards and referring to those in the Hebrew Roots movement as trolls and to our posts as troll droppings. One woman said something that almost made me fall off my chair when she made the sarcastic comment that Torah was abolished at the cross and God is interested in how we love, not how we live. Okay, I replied, then how come he tells us over and over again to be holy? Leviticus 11:44 through 45 says, "For I am Yahweh your God, therefore consecrate yourselves and be holy, for I am holy. For I am Yahweh who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Therefore you are to be holy because I am holy." Leviticus 20 verse 8 says, "Observe my regulations and obey them. I am Yahweh who sets you apart to be holy." Leviticus 20 verses 25 through 26 say, "You people are to be holy for me because I, Yahweh, am holy. And I have set you apart from the other peoples so that you can belong to me." Were all those commands to be holy only for the Jews? No, because according to the Torah, Yahweh was addressing all Israel, all 12 tribes, and the Gentiles who had accompanied Moses out of Egypt. Yes, he was addressing them at that moment in time, but the fact is, we're told Yahweh never changes and his word stands forever. So where do people get the idea that he suddenly has different rules for Jews and Gentiles and for his natural and adopted children, or that those commands were only meant for the people wandering in the wilderness for 40 years? The comment from that particular woman on Facebook suggested that Christians don't have to be holy, they only have to love. Wow, where did we learn how to treat our neighbors in a loving, fair, and God-fearing manner in the first place? In Torah, that very entity that Christians insist is a curse. Good grief! Yahweh gave us his Torah as rules for holy, set-apart living, and he gave us his divine Son, Yeshua, as a representative for himself as an arm of Yahweh, according to Isaiah 53:1, to teach his people face-to-face about who God is, how to properly worship him, and how to conduct our lives according to his divine instructions, his Torah. As an added bonus, Yeshua, the arm of Yahweh, who consequently was Yahweh in the flesh and in his human form obeyed Torah, chose to die on our behalf as our final sin sacrifice. He never indicated that he came to replace his Father Yahweh or to change his divine rules in righteousness. He even said he came not to abolish but to complete, which certainly did not mean put an end to. Another Christian Facebook scholar told me this: Torah observance is a dangerous and demonic doctrine that has nothing to do with how Messiah treats his people, and it's time we Christians confronted this nonsense. I just shook my head as I read some of the hideous things these Christians were espousing. I mean, these poor lost people haven't even realized that Jesus came not to abolish Torah, but to proclaim it. Take a look at Luke 4:43. But he, Yeshua, said, "I must preach the good news of the kingdom of Yahweh to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent." Luke 8:1, and it happened after these things that Yeshua was going around in the cities and the villages and was preaching and declaring the kingdom of Elohim. These passages don't tell us that our Messiah came to replace Yahweh or abolish his Torah. The kingdom of Elohim is what? Full of Torahless, wishy-washy religious folks who go around insisting Torah is a curse and refusing to even bother to keep the command to keep God's seventh-day Sabbath? I don't think so. In Acts 28:23, we're told, "From morning till evening, the Apostle Paul explained and declared the kingdom of Elohim and tried to convince people about Yeshua from the law of Moses and from the prophets. And in Acts 24:14, we see Paul saying, "But this indeed I acknowledge, that in that same doctrine of which they speak, I do serve the Elohim of my fathers, believing all the things written in Torah and the prophets." People, Christianity was born from Catholicism, which came onto the scene approximately 100 years after the death of Yeshua. Up until then, every believer was Torah observant, and that is until Catholicism and people like Constantine, Ignatius, and Tertullian came along to pervert the word and insist on removing anything Jewish from their worship. The nagging question that only the rare Christian dares ask himself is, why would Jesus' death on the stake suddenly negate God's original divine instructions, and especially his forever commands? In biblical times, the people at least had a valid excuse to go astray. They blindly followed their rabbis because most people couldn't read back then. But today's believers cannot make that same claim. So why are people still blindly following their congregation leaders and allowing themselves to be led away from biblical truth? Christianity in itself is not bad. It's what it has been made into by all the various learned pastors and scholars who have inserted their own opinions into the Word of God. Please think about this. Shalom.